What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Kings of Lethal. Today I'm going to bring you another deck tech. It's actually a brand new deck I made recently after the release of Kamigawa. It's a mono-colored commander, but it's probably one of the funnest commanders I've played. I built it, played it a couple times. First game I won with it, second game did some pretty fun stuff with it, and then my buddies and my group was just like, okay, that can't stick around any longer than it has already. And that commander is um, JIN-GITAXIAS himself. JIN-GITAXIAS, the Progress Tyrant. We're going to go ahead and get into it here in the video when I break down the deck and explain some of the card combos and tech that I have in the deck. Without further ado, let's get to it. Alright, guys, here we are at the table, the brew top, if you will. And as previously mentioned, we're going to go ahead and talk about my new deck I just built recently. Still could use a couple upgrades. It's definitely not where exactly I want it to be. But it is mono blue JIN-GITAXIAS Progress Tyrant from the new set Kamigawa Neon Dynasty. Now, for those of you that don't know me too well, the last deck tech video I showed you was a white blue Azurius Tap Revolution, which is pretty much a stacks deck with the ability to tap stuff down and try and keep it tapped down to do some pretty fun stuff. And this is pretty much along the lines of blue control with a little bit of artifact fun in here. It is definitely a control deck for sure. I definitely want to try and control the board. And without that being said, let's go ahead and progress into the lovely JIN-GITAXIAS here. Okay, so JIN-GITAXIAS Progress Tyrant, 5 and 2 blue, so 7 CMC for a legendary creature, Phyrexian Praetor, for a 5/5. And his ability is probably one of the most fun ones I've played in a while. Whenever you cast an artifact, instant, or sorcery spell, copy that spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. This ability triggers only once each turn. A copy of a permanent spell becomes a token. Alright, and then at the bottom here, whenever an opponent casts an artifact, instant, or sorcery spell, counter that spell. This ability triggers only once each turn. As we get into the deck, you guys you'll find out and see why this is so much fun and not so much fun for the people playing against it. In the first game I played, this thing just kind of went crazy and just took over the board, and by the time people realized how messed up it was already too far into the game and too much for them to take care of. I do run counters in the deck, so just him countering stuff already, and then once you get rid of that part of him, I can just counter spell something else, and then it just becomes super oppressive and super annoying. But yeah, so we'll get into some combos here and some deck tech and why I have some stuff in here. Super fun card. If you feel like being that asshole at your table, I recommend using this. Or if you have that group that is okay with just playing a lot of fun, mean stuff, this is definitely something you're going to want to look into. Hopefully I give you guys some deck tips and possibly some things you may not have thought about. From there, we're going to go ahead and move into Planeswalkers. I actually have 2 Planeswalkers in the deck, and I just realized I can't even run one because he has white in his ability. That sucks. That's going to be taken out. He would have been a real fun one to use. He wasn't in there originally. Originally, I'll go ahead and show you one of the cards I did have in here originally. We'll just go ahead and say a couple of these cards are already in here. I just took out. Just go ahead and put a Founder Inspector back in. Reduces the cost of artifacts. Why not? Yeah, or Scrap Trawler. Those are some options we can put in there. Alright, well, the reason why Dovin was in there is because he pretty much has the same ability as Jin with the ability to not cast it. We're not even going to talk about that, though, because that's lame. Okay, moving on to Tezzeret, Betrayer of Flesh. 2 and a 2 blue. Legendary Planeswalker Tezzeret. For a 4 loyalty, his activator, or his ability that stays on him continuously, is the first activated ability of an artifact you activate each turn costs 2 less to activate. That's a great effect, but that's not really why he is in the deck. He's mainly in the deck for his other abilities, his loyalty abilities. +1, draw 2 cards, then discard 2 cards unless you discard an artifact card. That's definitely a plus in my books. Draw 2 cards and then possibly just discard 1. Helps you get that draw. -2, not really focused on doing that too much. Target artifact becomes an artifact creature. If it isn't a vehicle, it has base power and toughness 4/4. Not really in here to be making my soul rings into a 4/4 creature, but it is there if I need it. So definitely not something to sleep on. But the -6, if I can get to this is what I obviously want. The ultimate, you get an emblem with whenever an artifact you control becomes tapped, draw a card. Great ability. You definitely don't want to be sleeping on that one. Overall, a solid card, again, from the new set, KamigawA Neon Dynasty. Moving on from there, we're going to move into the enchantments. I run 3 enchantments. We're going to talk about this one last. But the first one I run here is Metallurgic Summoning, 3 and 2 blue for obviously enchantment. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, create an XX colorless construct artifact creature token, where X is that spell's mana value. So I'm kind of getting a 2-for-1 here. I'm casting the instant or sorcery, which if I have Jin, it copies that twice. And then I get to create an XX colorless construct. So let's just say we'll just go ahead and use Preordain. If I cast Preordain, I get to copy that if it's the first one I've casted with Jin. So I get 2 copies of that, and then I'm going to be getting 2 colorless construct. Copy that spell. You may actually, I think I only get the 1 because it doesn't copy the cast. But anyways, I'm getting a construct off of it too, which is an artifact, which I can then use obviously for Tezzeret, or just use the artifact to be a blocker or whatever I need it for. Then I can tap 3 and 2 blue, exile Metallurgic Summoning, return all instant and sorcery cards from my graveyard to my hand, activate only if I control 6 or more artifacts. Which again is a great ability to have, because as we get into this deck, you'll see why I want to be putting instants and sorceries back into my hand to do fun shenanigans with. Next one here is Swarm Intelligence, 6 and a blue, so 7 CMC. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, you may copy that spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. So again, same thing as Jin's ability here. Play an instant or sorcery. If it's the first one I've played, Jin's going to already make a copy of that, and then this will also make a copy of that, which, you know, obviously we're getting into stacking abilities here and just making a lot of fun stuff happen. And the third and final enchantment I have is a new one, again from KamigawA Neon Dynasty. I highly recommend this card if you play blue. It is just another way to be oppressive and lock down your opponents. Inventive Iteration. Step 1. Return up to 1 target creature or planeswalker to its owner's hand. Step 2. Return an artifact card from your graveyard to your hand. If you can't, draw a card. Step 3. Exile this saga and transform it. When you transform this saga, this is where the fun begins. It becomes Living Breakthrough, an enchantment creature Moonfolk for a 3/3 flying. Whenever you cast a spell, your opponents can't cast spells with the same mana value as that spell until your next turn. If that doesn't sound like oppression, let me just go ahead and read that to you one more time. Whenever you cast a spell, your opponents can't cast spells with the same mana value as that spell until your next turn. So you cast a 1 CMC spell, now your opponents can't cast 1 CMCs. You cast a 3, they can't cast 3s, and so on and so forth. I was able to use this card in the first game I played with this deck when I built it, and it was extremely oppressive. It's something that they didn't see coming, obviously because it's a new card, but once they did see it, it was an immediate target, and it actually took eyes off of JIN-GITAXIAS because they wanted to get rid of this first before Jin, because I was playing spells that was just locking practically their entire hands down. You can kind of play this smartly too. If you have abilities that let you look at your opponent's hands, which usually isn't in blue, it's more of a black thing, you can definitely utilize this. Or if you're playing smart and you play a 3 CMC and just kind of read the board and read the table, you'll know if anybody has CMCs that they're like, man, you know, or, you know, sometimes people will even give it away, be like, man, I wish I could play this, but I can't because of that stupid thing. Then you know one of the spells you cast was lock something down, so if you can, try and cast another spell with that CMC to keep that spell that they're so wanting to use out of their hands. And then also, who's to say, even if they cast that spell, if you have JIN-GITAXIAS on the board, he might just counter it anyways if it's an instant or sorcery artifact. Super fun card to play. I love this card. If you don't have it, I recommend getting one. I could definitely see the price of this card going up in value over time just because of how oppressive it can be. It is a rare, so just keep that in mind. Alright, moving on to the creatures. I do have 2 stacks of creatures here. I have a stack of creatures, I have a stack of artifact creatures, and then artifacts. So we're going to go creatures, artifacts, down the line, instants and sorcery, or sorceries and instants. Starting with the creatures here, if you guys have never seen Kira, Great Glass Spinner, 1 and 2 blue, legendary creature, spirit, 2/2 flying. If you haven't seen this before, just get ready. What it does is creatures you control have, whenever this creature becomes the target of a spell or ability for the first time each turn, counter that spell or ability. So not only is the first spell that anybody casts who's possibly trying to remove JIN-GITAXIAS going to be countered because it's most likely an instant or sorcery card. It'll be countered because of Jin if it's being cast. The first spell, or any spell that targets Jin now, is it the first? Yeah, the first time this creature becomes the target of a spell or ability for the first time each turn, counter that spell or ability. So now Kira is just going to go ahead and help counter that stuff as well. And it's also abilities, not just a cast. It counters abilities that may remove or do whatever to JIN-GITAXIAS. So just more oppression, more stuff to lock stuff down with. You do have to be careful because if you do have Kira, I do run artifacts like Lightning Greaves. You won't be able to target your own stuff because he will counter it. But you really don't want to be targeting most of your stuff in here mid to late game anyways. It's mainly here for mid to late game to kind of just help lock things down and keep it going, or keep it going for you and not for your opponents. Another card here, Baral, Chief of Compliance, 1 and a blue, legendary creature, human wizard, 1/3. Instants and sorcery spells you cast cost 1 less to cast, which just helps me cast stuff for Jin, and he again will copy that stuff. And then whenever a spell or ability you control counters a spell, you may draw a card if you do discard a card. So again, a lot of stuff to help counter, not only just counter cards, but Jin's ability counters, Kira's ability counters. I have some other stuff in here that helps counter cards. And then if you are able to counter and brawls on the board, you're just going to be able to draw and gain some benefit from it. Next one up here is Teferi, Mage of Zhalfir. 2 and 3 blue, so 5 CMC for a legendary creature, human wizard, 3 and 4. With Flash, creature cards you own that aren't on the battlefield have Flash, and then each opponent can cast spells only anytime they could cast a sorcery. So again, that first part there, creatures that I control that aren't above have Flash. Again, that does include Jin if Jin is in the command zone, and some people don't really expect a commander to be coming out of nowhere with Flash speed, which is a fun little add-on for having Teferi in here. Each opponent can cast spells only anytime they can cast a sorcery. It just helps lock them down even further. Oh, they have an instant response? Not anymore. It just helps make things, again, benefit you more moving forward. Plus, I threw Teferi in here. If you guys haven't seen my lore speculation video, go check it out. Got some real interesting things that I think may be happening with Teferi moving forward. Alright, another help for oppression here is Tidal Barracuda, 3 in blue for a creature fish, 3/4. Any player may cast spells as though they had Flash. Why are we doing that? We don't want to help our opponents cast stuff faster. Your opponents can't cast spells during your turn. There you go. I don't want people casting stuff on my turn. And if they do, Jim would most likely just counter it anyways. And then I kind of want people to have Flash because that way if they're trying to play an artifact on somebody's turn or whatever, a sorcery, Jin's going to say, no, not going to happen. Let's get rid of it. So it's kind of there to kind of help coax out you casting some of your spells. Hullbreaker Horror, 5 and 2 blue, 7 CMC creature, Kraken Horror, 7/8. From I believe this was Innistrad, the vampire one. Flash. This spell can't be countered, and then whenever you cast a spell, choose up to 1. Return target spell you don't control to its owner's hands. Return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. So again, this helps put stuff back into my hand, artifacts back into my hand, so I can recast them and possibly get recopies of them. And then also, whenever I cast a spell, I can return target spell I don't control to its owner's hand. So I can just, I'll get that creature out of there so I can swing in for lethal. Get that artifact back into your hand so the next time you cast it, most likely Jim will counter it. Just, again, really fun, really oppressive. Gets whatever I don't want on the board off. Next up is Talrid Sky Summoner, 2/2 blue, legendary creature, Merfolk Wizard. For a 2/2, he's pretty much been around for a while, but I'll go ahead and read it real quick. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, create a 2/2 blue Drake creature token with flying. Obviously, I want to be casting instant and sorceries, so it just helps me get some more creatures on the board, and they're flying, so it's kind of a win-win. All right. Archmage Emeritus, 2/2 blue for a creature human wizard from Strixhaven, 2/2. He's got Magecraft. Whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, draw a card. This is one of my most favorite cards. I believe it's underrated in every aspect of the word. I love this card. It does a lot of really fun things, and it helps you get resources in your hand, which helps you most likely win the game. Love this card. All right. Urza, Lord High Artificer. Goodness gracious. 2/2 blue legendary creature human artificer for 1/4. Urza is Urza, boys and girls. I'll go ahead and read it for you if you don't know, but if you haven't seen Urza before, you don't want to, trust me. Whenever Urza, Lord High Artificer, enters the battlefield, create a 0/0 colorless construct artifact creature token. With this creature, gets +1/+1 for each artifact you control. The more artifacts you have, the bigger this thing gets, and that thing is nasty. Luckily, it doesn't have trample, but don't let that fool you. This thing can get huge real quick, real fast. Especially if I'm copying artifact spells. Now I'm getting just more. Tap an untap artifact you control, add blue. So now I just tap any of these copied artifacts I have, especially if they're not even mana rocks. If they're just artifacts out there. The copies are also artifacts, so I get just double your pleasure. I'm getting blue mana, which is just going to help me cast more stuff. And then I can tap 5, shuffle my library, then exile the top card. Until end of turn, you may play that card without paying its mana cost. This is super oppressive, mainly when you start seeing some of these sorceries and instances. You'll understand why. Paying 5 for some of the stuff that's in here is ridiculous. And then Fate Spinner, 1/2 blue creature, human wizard, 1/2. Again, we're trying to be oppressive. The point of this deck is to be oppressive. We're not here to be anybody's friend with this deck. This deck is made to be the salt bearer of the battlefield, and it does what it does, and it does it very effectively. What Fate Spinner does is, at the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, that player chooses draw step, main phase, or combat phase. The player skips each instance of the chosen step or phase this turn. So if you choose draw step, you're going to skip your draw. If you skip main phase, you can't play any land or any ability, or any creatures or spells unless there are instances during combat that turn. If you skip combat phase, it just means you're not going to be swinging in to hit me, which I'm okay with. Very oppressive card. This thing is a mean card. I would say I'm sorry, but I'm usually not. Again, this deck was built to be very oppressive, very mean. Again, I'm not on the battlefield to be your friend with this deck. I'm on the battlefield to win and do a lot of really dumb, fun stuff with JIN-GITAXIAS. Alright, artifact creatures. Now, these creatures were in their own separate pile because these ones will get copied by JIN-GITAXIAS. But you do have to be careful because Legendary Clause does apply. You can run a version of this deck where you have Mirror Box or Sakashima, so the Legendary Clause does not apply. I don't run that version. It is a version I've considered. I do have the cards, but they're in another deck, which I may do a deck preview for here very soon. Another salt-bearing deck, Toxrill. If you guys can't tell, I like playing salt. It is what I do. I am the salt man. Okay. Artifact creatures. The Reality Chip. 1 in a blue. Legendary artifact creature. Equipment. Jellyfish. 0/4. This is from Kawagama. It is a reconfigure card, which reconfigures essentially it's a creature that you can play its reconfiguration cost for, or its equip cost to equip it to a creature. While it's equipped, it is an equipment. Once that creature dies, it becomes a creature again. Really fun cards to play with, actually. You may look at the top card of your library at any time. That is active at all times while this card is out on the board. The fun part here is, as long as the reality chip is attached to a creature, you may play lands and cast spells from the top of your library. So essentially, it becomes now like a, I forget his name, Magus, or like a Bolas Citadel type deal, but you're not paying life for it. But first, you get to look, and if you don't like it there, now you know what's there, and then you can play or cast spells from the top of your library, or play land. So if you miss that land drop, but you got a land on top, let's go ahead and hit that land. Let's look at the next card and see where it is, because you can always look at the top card. If it's a spell I can play, now I'm going to play it. Super fun card. Again, it has to be equipped for you to be able to cast or play from the top of your library, but super fun card to have. It will be copied by Jim, but obviously Legendary Clause will make it die and go away. Or the copy. Next one up here is Solemn Simulacrum, 4-drop for a 2/2. Solemn is solemn. It is just a basic artifact creature, so it will get copied, and both copies will stay. When they enter the battlefield, you may choose, or you may search your library for a basic land card, put that card onto the battlefield, tap, then shuffle, and then when they die, you may draw a card. So again, we're getting double your pleasure, double your fun, like Spearmint Gum. Not a sponsor, but this is just a great card to have for especially artifact duplication deck. Super fun card to have. Platinum Angel. This thing is just mean. It already mean by itself, but if you can make a copy of it, it's just even worse. Platinum Angel, 7-drop, artifact creature angel, 4/4, flying. You can't lose the game, and your opponents can't win the game. I actually was able to get 2 of these out in my first game, and my buddy was trying to win by decking me out, and I was like, you do realize I can't lose and you can't win. He thought that just meant life. That just means in general. You can't lose the game in any way, shape, form, or fashion if this thing is on the board. You have to get rid of it, and again, if you want to get rid of it, JIN-GITAXIAS is most likely going to go, no way. Sorry, bub. Try again. And then if you can copy it, now you got to get 1. You got to get rid of 2. Again, oppression. I'm not here to be your friend. Palladium Mirror, 3-drop for artifact creature mirror, 2/2. Tap it, add 2. Colorless mana. Again, if I can copy this now for the price of 3 mana, I get 4 mana in return. You can't beat it. Mirror Retriever, 2-drop for a 1/1 artifact creature mirror, another mirror. When this one dies, return another target artifact card from your graveyard to your hand. Again, this is just there. Again, make copies of it, and now I can get some artifacts back when they die from my graveyard back to my hand to recast and have more fun with. Geo Golem, I feel like this is a must in the deck. 1, Jin's CMC is high. If he does die or is sent back to the graveyard, or to the command zone somehow, he does get a bit pricey, especially in blue when you don't really have much ramp going on. But what Geo Golem does, 5-drop artifact creature golem for a 5/3 with trample. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you may cast your commander from the command zone without paying its mana cost. He's in there literally just for that. Especially again with Jin being at 7, it's already kind of tough to get to that. And then if it dies, now it becomes 9 CMC, and he just becomes super expensive mid to late game if you can't keep him out on the board. So he's here to kind of quickly get Jim back out. Jorah's Familiar, 4-drop artifact creature bird, 2/2, flying historic spell. You cast, cost 1 less to cast. So if I'm able to make copies of this, now they're going to cost 2 less. It's just a fun card to have. And historic spells are artifacts, legendaries, and sagas. So again, legendary will cost 1 less. All my artifacts, including artifact creatures, cost 1 less, and then the one saga I do have in here will cost 1 less. Really fun card to have. Phyrexian Metamorph, 3 and a Phyrexian Blue. Phyrexian Blue, if you guys don't know, can be paid with a blue or 2 life, which is actually a very broken ability if you ask me. Artifact creature Shapeshifter for a 0/0. You may have Phyrexian Metamorph enter the battlefield as a copy of any artifact or creature on the battlefield, except it's an artifact in addition to its other types. Again, if I'm able to make 2 of these, now I get to make copies of 2 separate things, and this thing can become really done really quick, especially when paired with the card that's actually on the art of this version, Blightsteel Colossus. Blightsteel Colossus, 12-drop, artifact creature, golem, 11/11, trample, infect, and indestructible. If Blightsteel Colossus will be put into a graveyard from anywhere, reveal Blightsteel Colossus and shuffle it into its owner's library instead. This is a non-legendary artifact creature, which means I can make a copy of it if I have JIN-GITAXIAS out, which that in itself is disgusting. As I said, Phyrexian Metamorph, if I cast Phyrexian Metamorph from JIN-GITAXIAS house, if it's the first one I cast, I can make a copy of Phyrexian Metamorph. Now I can make more copies of possibly Blightsteel Colossus, make the board big with Blightsteels, and then just swing in and deal massive infect damage and be that guy. I'm normally not the infect guy. This is the only infect card I have in this deck. But Blightsteel is Blightsteel. If you run an artifact deck that can copy artifacts, why not? But again, not here to be friends. Moving on to the artifacts. All right. Starting off with Mirage Mirror. 3-drop artifact. Tap 2, Mirage Mirror becomes a copy of becomes a copy of target artifact, creature, enchantment, or land until end of turn. This is one of the cards that with Tezzeret, the first time I activate its ability, it costs 2 less. So the first time I activate Mirage Mirror in my turn would cost 0. It's a free ability to activate. It's a fun card. If I'm able to make 2 of them with JIN-GITAXIAS, it just becomes even more fun to mess around with. Really fun card to play with. Sculpting Steel, 3-drop artifact. You may have Sculpting Steel enter the battlefield as a copy of any artifact on the battlefield. Again, just more ways to make Blightsteels, more ways to make just really annoying artifacts. If I can get 2 of them, again, just the synergy here is a lot of fun. Really mean, but a lot of fun. Basalt Monolith, 3 artifact. Basalt Monolith doesn't untap during your untap step. Tap it, add 3, and then you can tap 3 to untap Basalt Monolith. Cool part is again, tap the 3 to untap Basalt Monolith. That is an activated ability, so the first time I would activate that, it's only going to make this cost 1 less. So if I tap this for 3, if I make this only cost 1, I can use 1 of that, tap it again for 3, and I have 5 mana just off the get-go. Pair this with Urza. I'm able to untap it or tap it for blue mana. Unwinding Clock untaps this for you, so there's ways to untap this without having to pay the 3. Just a fun artifact to have in here. Speaking of Unwinding Clock, 4-drop artifact. Untap all artifacts you control during each other player's untap step. It's in here for the reasons it's in here. You're playing artifacts, why not just have them all untap? Walden Jar, 0-drop artifact. Sacrifice Walden Jar, regenerate target artifact. If I'm able to copy this, now I can regenerate multiple artifacts. So if you board wipe me, I can get 2 of my artifacts back. Lightning Greaves, 2-drop artifact. Equipment. Equipped creature has haste and shroud. I mean, this is what it is. I want to get this on Jin, so now Jin's even harder to get rid of. And then also, given its shroud, given its shroud is just a plus. And then, oh man, light. Sorry, guys. It's just a plus, and then its equip is 0. So it's just a fun card to have, fun card to play with. All right, Replicating Ring, sorry. 3-drop Snow artifact from Kaldheim. Probably one of my favorite artifacts in the game right now. You tap it, add 1 mana of any color. Obviously, this would be blue. But at the beginning of your upkeep, put a night counter on Replicating Ring. Then if it has 8 or more night counters on it, remove all of them and create 8 color Snow artifact tokens named Replicating Ring with tap, add 1 mana of any color. Reason why I added this into here is, again, blue doesn't have very many ways to ramp if I cast a spell and JIN-GITAXIAS is out, I get 2 of them. They both will do the same thing as far as putting counters on them. Once they both get 8, they both split into 8 more. So now I got a total of 18, artifacts that tap for mana. I don't expect that to ever happen, but if it does, it's there for the reasons it's there. It's just another way to get me mana, with blue not really having ways to ramp very much. Quicksilver Fountain, 3-drop artifact, one of my favorite artifacts, especially for blue. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, that player puts a flood counter on target non-island land he or she controls. That land is an island as long as it has a flood counter on it. At end of turn, if all lands in play are islands, remove all flood counters from them. This gets rid of all your opponent's colored mana. If they have to put it on a command tower, that command tower no longer taps for anything. It's an island. It can only tap for blue. And again, if they don't run blue or blue's not needed in their deck, it locks them down. They're not able to really cast too much of anything. And usually people keep playing lands because they want to try and find an answer with, if I play this red land, maybe I can do something. But the more lands you keep playing, this thing usually doesn't get filled up or put flood counters on all the lands. And next thing you know, your opponents are just mad because they can't really do anything. TYRANT Dynamo, 4-drop artifact for tap, add 3. Again, if I can copy this, now I get, for 4 mana, I get 6 mana. So it's always a fun card to have. Soul Ring, tap 1, get 2. If I have JIN-GITAXIAS, now I tap 1, get 2 Soul Rings, and now I have 4 mana for 1 mana. It's just, again, pluses. Skyclave Relic, one of my favorite artifacts again. Artifact, 3-drop, kicker of 3, so for 6 CMC. It's indestructible. When Skyclave Relic enters the battlefield, if it was kicked, create 2 tap tokens that are copies of Skyclave Relic. Tap, add 1 mana of any color. Again, you're only going to be tapping this for blue. But when you cast this card, if I have JIN-GITAXIAS out and it was kicked, it will copy the kicked version, which means not only will I get this and the 2 for this, I'll get another 1 and 2 more for that. So for 6 mana, I'm getting 6 CMC. So to me, it's a plus. I love having this card out. Love getting this card. It's a super fun one, again, ramping with blue. Moving on to the sorceries. First sorcery I have for you guys is going to be Preordain, 1-drop sorcery. Again, keep in mind, Jin does copy the first instance of sorcery or artifact I play, so if you can copy any of these, just they're double what they say. So scry 2, then draw a card. So essentially, scry 2, draw a card. Scry 2 again, draw another card. So you're drawing 2 cards for 1 blue mana. Pluses all around. Same thing here for Serum Visions. It's the same thing but kind of backwards. In this case, you're going to be drawing that card first and then scrying 2. If you have again JIN-GITAXIAS out, who's actually on the art of the card, you're going to draw again and then scry 2 more. Again, just more pluses for 1 mana. Alright, part of this deck is having extra turns. Again, I'm not here to be your friend. I'm not here to let you win. I'm trying to win, is the Phyrexian way. Temporal Mastery, 5 and 2 blue. Sorcery, take an extra turn after this one, exile Temporal Mastery. Miracle for 1 blue. So if you can happen to hit this, a Miracle for 1 blue, now you're getting 2 extra turns if you have Jin out. Again, this deck is just made to be fun for you and nobody else. And even for 7 mana, getting 2 extra turns for 7 mana, you can't really beat that. Ponder, another 1-drop. Look at the top 3 cards of your library. So if I had Jin, I get to do this twice. If I can put those back on top of any order. If I don't want to keep them, I can just shuffle, and then you get to draw a card. So I put the 3 back in any order. So I put the one I do want on top, and then I get to draw it. And then same thing, pick up 3 more, and then draw it. Solve the equation to win a blue sorcery from Strixhaven. This is another one of my favorite cards from recent sets. Search your library for an instant or sorcery card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. I love this card, especially if you can double it up. 3 mana, get you 2 instants or sorceries, and then to your hand. What's not to love about that? I actually played this card in one of the games, and I went and got myself a counter spell. So if somebody had something to counter, I could counter it. And then the other spell I got was an extra turn card. Didn't really turn into much more after that. I kind of whiffed on my extra turns, but it was still fun to play. Expropriate. Now we're just being mean. 7 and 2 blue, 9 mana. Council's Dilemma. Pretty much you're going to vote for extra turns or money. If you vote for the extra turns, I get an extra turn. If you vote for money, I get a permanent that you control of my choice. With JIN-GITAXIAS out, this is going to copy twice, and I'm either going to get double the extra turns or double the permanents you have. Very oppressive card, very mean, but again, this is the deck. Part the Water Veil, another extra turn card for 6 mana, 4 and 2 blue. Take an extra turn, then exile Part the Water Veil. Mnemonic Deluge, 9 mana, 6 and 3 blue for 6 sorcery. Exile target instant or sorcery card from a graveyard. Copy that card 3 times. You may cast the copies without paying their mana cost. Exile Mnemonic Deluge. So any of these extra turn cards I have in my library or my graveyard, I'm just going to exile them, and then I will get an extra turn or 2, depending on JIN-GITAXIAS. Because if Jin's out and I cast this, I get 2 copies of this. I choose most likely 2 extra turn cards, and then yeah, we're just going to combo and combo and combo. Fabricate, great blue sorcery for artifacts. 2 and a blue sorcery, search your library for an artifact card, reveal it, and put it into your hand. Then shuffle your library. Kind of like Solve the Equation, except for artifacts. Now with Jin out, I'm going to go ahead and search for 2 artifacts. Relearn, 1 and 2 blue. Return target instant or interrupt or sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand. This returns instants and sorceries from my graveyard back to my hand, especially ones that I want to recast. Time Warp, 5 CMC, 3 and 2 blue for an extra turn card. This one does not get exiled when you cast it, which is a good part because that's one of the ones that I can use with Mnemonic Deluge to, have fun with. Beacon of Tomorrow, target player takes an extra turn after this one, then I shuffle this back into my library. So 6, 2 blue, so 8 mana, get an extra turn, shuffle it back into my library to possibly hit it again later. Always fun stuff. Walk the Aeons, 4 and 2 blue, sorcery. Buyback, I can sacrifice 3 islands to put this back to my hand. Target player takes an extra turn after this one. This is another one that I can hit with Relearn or Mnemonic Deluge. Time Stretch, 8 and 2 blue, so 10 CMC. Target player takes 2 extra turns after this one. This is one of my favorite extra turn cards because it's 2 extra turns for 10 CMC. Or if I have Jin out, I pay 10 mana, and now I get 4 extra turns. Yeah, please. Mnemonic Deluge can hit that one as well. Flood of Recollection. Return target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand. Exile Flood of Recollection. This is Relearn. Just an upgraded version and a cheaper version. And then All Runs Epiphany. 5 and 2 blue. Create a 1/1 blue bird creature token with flying. So if Jin's out there, I get 2 of those. And then I get to take an extra turn to this one. Exile this card. So again, more extra turns. Or I can foretell it and then pay 4 and 2 blue, so a reduction of 1 CMC after I foretell it. And I get the abilities again. Extra turn spells are pretty much the cornerstone of this deck. The whole point is I want to take the extra turns to just do more fun stuff with Jin. Moving on to the instances, again, a lot of low drop stuff in here. Reason being is I pay low CMC, for example, Rapid Hybridization, 1 blue for an instant, destroy target creature. It can't be regenerated, and then that creature's controller creates a 3/3 frog lizard creature token. So I destroy a target creature, make it 3/3, and then I can copy this, destroy another target creature, and make it a 3/3. March of Swirling Mist is one of the Kamigawa Neon Dynasty instances. X and a blue. You can exile any blue cards from your hand to reduce the cost of this by 2. And then up to X target creatures phase out. May sound a little weird. Why would you want X target creatures phasing out? It is a way to save some of your stuff during a board wipe. Or one of the things that my opponents didn't see coming last time was I was able to phase out all of their creatures. And then essentially what happened was on the person's turn who was after the person who board wiped, they were able to unphase all their creatures during their turn, and everybody was open. Because this, unlike Teferi's Protection, this does not phase you out. This only phases out the creatures. So it leaves their board pretty much wide open for you to swing into. So I could kind of use this politically and be like, hey, look, I haven't really been doing much. I'm going to go ahead and do this. Phase out all of their creatures. Please don't hit me. Leave me around for one more turn. And then I might possibly be able to do some fun stuff with JIN-GITAXIAS if I'm left alone. Counterspell, 2-drop, it is what it is. Narset Reversal, another 2-drop. Copy target instant sorcery spell, then return that to its owner's hand. You may choose new targets to copy. The reason why I love this card is, let's say the opponent plays a extra turn, we'll say extra turn spell. I'm going to go ahead and it's the first one that they cast. Jin's going to counter it, but I can in response play Narset's Reversal, copy that spell, and then bounce it to their hand, and then I get to choose new targets, which means I'm taking an extra turn. And then if they want to recast it, it's just not going to be fun. Pongify, another 1-drop for destroy target creature. It can't be regenerated. Its controller creates a 3/3 green 8 creature token, just like Rapid Hybridization, except it's a green monkey this turn. Again, being able to do it twice, always fun. High Tide, until end of turn, all islands produce an additional blue mana when tapped for mana. I was able to get Jin out turn 4 in the last game I played because of that. Great card, great ability to have. Got to be careful with that one though, because it does make all of your opponent's blue mana tap for additional blue on that turn. So you just got to be careful with that sometimes. Brainstorm, another 1-drop. Draw 3 cards and put 2 cards from your hand on top of your library in any order. So again, you draw 3 cards, put 2 of them back. Draw 3 cards, put 2 of them back. It's just a way to kind of look through a couple cards in your deck and get what you need to your hand. Arcane Denial, 1 of blue. It's a counter spell. Cool part is whoever's spell is countered with this ability gets to draw 2 cards on their next turn, and then I get to draw a card on the next upkeep. So kind of fun card to have and play around with. Nexus of Fate is the only instant extra turn card that I'm aware of, but you take it for 5 and 2 blue, 7 CMC. You take an extra turn, and then if it would be put into a graveyard from anywhere, reveal it and shuffle it into its owner's library instead. So it just replenishes and keeps going back. Consider, love this card, 1-drop. Look at the top card of your library. You may put that card into your graveyard, draw a card. It's an instant, so I love playing this card at the end of the opponents before me so I can look and then draw what I want. Mystical Tutor. You search your library for any instant or sorcery. Or Mana Source, which it can be one of your mana rocks, which is pretty cool. I don't think that's what that means. I think that might be island or land. I'll have to look into that. And reveal that card to all players. Shuffle your library and put that reveal card back on top of it. So pretty much it's another instant. So at the end phase of the person before me, I want to do this, get what I want on top, and then draw into it. And then Cyclonic Rift. It's pretty much the only board wipe I have in this, other than that phase out card, which I don't really consider a board wipe. Cyclonic Rift, for 1 in the blue, I can choose a target permanent I don't control and return it to the owner's hand. Or if I overload this for 6 in the blue, so 7 CMC, return all permanents I don't control, or sorry, all non-land permanents I don't control, up to their opponent's hands, and everything I have stays. That was pretty much the meat and potatoes, guys, here of the deck itself. Again, I got to take out Dovin, Hand of Control. I was an idiot when I was looking at some cards the other night, and I didn't realize that I was putting a white card into a blue deck, which you can't do. Great card, though, by the way. But probably going to end up putting Foundry Inspector or Scrap Trawler in here. Probably just Scrap Trawler. Get some more stuff back from the graveyard. There we go. Bango, bango, bungo. Go ahead and put this over here. Okay, and then some of the lands, the utility lands, because everything else in here is an island. I run 3 utility lands, one of which being Reliquary Tower, infinite hand size. Halimar Depths comes in tap, but when it enters the battlefield, look at the top 3 cards of your library, then put them back in any order, again helping me draw what I want. And then Mystic Sanctuary. Taps for blue. Enters the battlefield tapped unless I control 3 islands. If it comes in untapped, I may return a target instant sorcery from my graveyard to my hand. And there you have it, boys and girls. That was pretty much my JIN-GITAXIAS Progress Tyrant deck. It looks like it's pretty stacked, but like I told you guys at the beginning, there is still some stuff I would love to be able to add to it, mix it up a little bit. But if you like what you saw, please leave a comment below. Let me know what changes you might make to the deck. And then, yeah, if you feel like being that player at the table and you don't really care what your friends think of you later on, or again, if you guys are okay playing Salt, I definitely recommend playing this deck if you have the cards. If not, I'm sure you could play around with some text and stuff like that. But again, the point of this deck is to be, as the card says, a tyrant. I'm not here to be your friend. I don't mind making deals, but they're probably not going to benefit you in the long run. I want to just control the board and not necessarily make it to where you can't do anything. But if you do try and do anything, it's going to be fairly difficult to do so. But with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Again, please leave a comment below. Hit that like button. Subscribe. And as always, stay lethal.